All right, all right. Thanks for stopping by. So let's talk about something really serious. Let's talk about the encounters I had when I first moved into the van full time with the dreaded knock, the police. So I think it was let's see, it must have been around January 2019. Yeah, that's when it was when I first moved into the van. And the first 2 weeks were pretty flawless. And then I started getting the dreaded knock on the van. And it always happened around midnight. It was the police. Apparently somebody had called in and I was parked on the street legally. There was at least 2 dozen other cars parked, front and back of me on the curb of the street. And I think what happened was around 10 o'clock at night when I started putting up my privacy curtains, somebody must have saw me. But the police didn't come until midnight, about 2 hours later. I was already asleep. They knock on the van, they wake me up. I go to the driver's door and I say, is there a problem, officer? And it was the first one was a very young police officer. He looked like probably 25, really baby faced guy, very nice. And he said, well, we got a call that somebody was shuffling around in a van out here. We just wanted to come check on you. I was like, yeah, I'm sleeping. I live in this van. I'm parked legally and I've got to be at work in the morning, so I'd really like to go back to sleep. Well, that kind of ticked him off that I wanted to be short with him. He did leave briefly and he came back about, I don't know, 2 minutes later and he knocked again. He said, I need your ID. I'm like, why? I didn't do anything wrong. Why do you want to identify me? Can't you just run my plates and let me go back to sleep? Well, that made him even more upset. So then he got me out of the van. I'm standing out in the cold, the January night, in my shorts and t-shirt, and I have to shuffle through my glove compartment and get out my ID to show him that I'm not a wanted felon or something like that. It was just a big ordeal. I just felt like he escalated it over nothing. He could have ran my plates and got the information he needed and just let me go back to sleep. But after this, I'm kind of worked up. He finally leaves. He argued with me at first and said that I couldn't park there, but then I showed him it's a public street and he really didn't have an argument left, so he got in his car and left. Well, I'm all worked up then. I laid there for till like 3 in the morning before I can get back to sleep, and I got to get up at 6:30 and go to work. And then I guess after that one, it took another 2 or 3 weeks. Same thing happened. I was in a different location, but same scenario. And this was a much older police officer, and he was much more courteous. He wasn't like a young buck ready to get into it, and go hands on. He was an older gentleman, and he left me alone. You know, I told him, "Hey, I'm sleeping here. I don't cause any trouble." He was gone in 5 minutes. And the next one, it was another young guy, and this time I was in a parking garage of the condos I used to live in, and I still had the sticker on my van, so I hadn't had any problems there, so I just parked there again. And he come up and said that he got a call about something. I don't know who was calling on me. What was I doing? I don't know. But it changed my outlook on things. I had never ever had any run-ins with the law in my life. Well, when I was about 18, me and some friends were driving around a Pizza Hut acting crazy, and the cops pulled us over. But other than that, and this happened 6 times in within maybe 6 months or so. And the last one's what really got me. I think if you probably go back through my videos about 4 years ago, you'll see, because I made a video about it. This cop upset me so bad because I was clearly legally parked. He gets me up around midnight, tells me to step out of the van, tells me that I am parked on private property. And I said, this is the side of a public street. There's no way this is private property. and he wants to argue with me. We walked down the street. I pulled out my phone and started videoing and videoed the name of the street. I still know the name of the street. I won't mention it because I don't want you to Google it, I guess. But, um, and told him that, I would like to discuss this further with him. Would he like to participate in my YouTube channel? And when I said that, he turned around and got in his car and left. He didn't say goodnight, kiss my butt, anything, because he knew I had him. And at that point, everything changed. My perspective changed. You know, this had become nothing more than harassment. It was no other excuse for it. I'm not breaking any laws. I'm not a drug addict. I'm not a criminal. But it's like I shouldn't have been so open and transparent with them and tell them that I live in my van, because it gave them this false persona of me. Like, well, if you live in your van in the city, you must be up to something. I worked a full-time job, man. I worked Monday to Friday, 8 to 10 hours a day. I was just trying to sleep and be stealth as possible and quiet as possible. So it changed my outlook on things, because there was a time in my life where I almost got in a fist fight with a guy because he was bad mouthing the cops, and I didn't want to hear that because I hadn't had that life experience and he had, and I wasn't wise enough to see that. So, when it happens half a dozen times, you start to think, I'm being targeted, I'm being looked at as a criminal when I'm a good guy. I've never been to jail. I've never been arrested. I've had maybe 2, 3 speeding tickets in my life. I'm 51 years old now. That's not a bad record, you know. But it's like I don't know how to put this. It's like they jump to conclusions, I guess. And in a way, I understand how that can be possible, because when you get lumped into a group of people, you know, maybe their experience with people living in their cars was because, they were drug addicted, and they just expected for me to be drug addicted and to be a problem and all that. But with those 6 encounters, the first one was bad, the second one was very nice. The others were in between. And the last one, this guy, once I pulled my camera out and started videoing, oh my gosh, he just got in his car and left. He didn't want to be part of a YouTube video, I guess. So there's power there. So that brings me to this. After that 6th encounter, I got a sign and put on the side of my van. You've seen it in many of my videos, where I made up a company. You can put any vinyl lettering on your van you want to, as long as it's not vulgar. And I think you could probably put vulgar language too. I think that would fall under the First Amendment. I'm not going to do that because I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not going to put, curse words on the side of my van. But I just put up that sign on the side of my van. Now, and after I did that, it's like I eliminated whatever problems I was causing before, because I wasn't just a plain white van where I scared people, maybe. So once I put up that company sign on the side of my van, I never got another knock. They left me alone. I guess they thought I was legitimate then. But it was an eye-opening experience, because I've never been treated that way before. And it really changed my philosophy on a lot of things. And it made me think back to that encounter I had with that guy, where it almost came to a fist fight, where I heard him calling the police, pigs and stuff like that. I didn't like it. But this guy apparently had been through the ringer with him, over stuff that he was accused of that he didn't do. So it gave me a new outlook on life. So I thought it was important to talk about this. I've never talked about it before, except in that one video. And I think I've still got it public. And if you go back probably 4 years, you'll see the encounter. That was the very last police encounter I had. And you'll see in that video where at the end of it, I was so upset. I asked him, would you like to be in my YouTube video and explain, your side, why you think I'm on private property when I'm clearly on a public street where I have every right to be. My van is current on the license plate. My driver's license is current. Why are we continuing? Why don't you let me go back to sleep? That's when he decided he didn't want any part of being outed on YouTube. And I think it's very important to always keep your camera rolling if you have encounters with people who can ruin your life for the next few years. There's a lot of people out there with a lot of power, and I don't have any power, but I do have a camera, and cameras don't lie. Take care, be well, and smash the bell.